Now you're very welcome back to the programme. It is Wednesday, so our Wednesday Wellness Wednesday feature today focuses on alternative remedies. We're joined by an expert in this field, David Foley. Alternative remedies, is that the correct terminology?
Yes, that's a very good. Complementary too is often used.
Yeah, complementary medicine. I think that's the one.
I prefer actually.
You do, okay. Yeah. It didn't. Alternative remedies just didn't sound right to me. Complementary. Where is the work that you do? And people texting the questions now. 086 60 25,000 as it relates to traditional medicine. I suppose that's another term I believe is correct. You know, is it to complement that? Maybe sometimes it's an alternative, but the advice is always, you know, if you've got something wrong with you, go and see your GP, I presume.
Yeah, I'm a great believer in science, but I also believe in tradition, you know. So the tradition, has been going for thousands of years, really, basically. So there's many things out there, and most of our remedies would be kind of food-based, basically, you know, they're herbs and things like that.
And there's a science to that as well.
And there's a upcoming science for that, you know. So they actually often complement each other very well, actually.
Okay. Well, listen, we'll get to a few questions and then we can talk more generally, if that's okay, David. A listener wants to know, is there anything you can take to assist with sleep?
Sleep it's a big problem. And, you know, since the COVID, sleep insomnia has gone through the roof, actually, because anxiety can be a great factor with sleep or insomnia. So, you know, there is many things. Like valerian is a very good herb. Valerian has the ability to, just to calm the mind, shut down. So, if you take valerian, if you wake up in the middle of the night, I'd sometimes use it myself. If it was something on my mind, you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can't get sleep, you take a shot of valerian. It just shuts down the
valerian.
Valerian, yeah.
Okay, Valerian.
Valerian.
Yeah. Okay. And is that a sense of its anxiety? Is it a sense, right, I've done something, I can sleep now? Or does it actually have, I'm sure it does, a chemical impact on your body?
It does, yeah. It works with GABA receptors in the brain. But in actual fact, on all herbs, in actual fact, we often find that, that in actual fact, the science is kind of catching up with what it does, because we're discovering. So it's one of the factors. It seems there's many factors. And it actually, it kind of you stop this thoughts rattling around your mind. You know, you wake up in the middle of the night and thoughts going on, keep you up.
Just keep going round in circles,
and it just calms it down. You take it within 10 or 20 minutes, usually you're calm enough to go to sleep.
Would you, if people are find that happens to them on a regular basis, to take it going to sleep?
Yeah, well, that's what people do. People have chronic insomnia. There's two types of insomnia, of course. There's acute and chronic. So I'm talking about acute insomnia, where you just wake up. I would normally sleep quite well, but there's the odd night something in your mind and you need to calm it down, and you'd wake up and you'd take a shot of valerian and it just calms everything down. But then for chronic insomnia, you'd need to take it on every day, basically.
Yeah, preemptive almost.
Yeah,
okay.
That's right.
In terms of general eye health, we have a specific question on eyes, but just in terms of general eye health, is there anything supplementary that we should be taking?
Well, actual fact, vitamin C is very good. Cataracts can be often a problem as we grow older, and seemingly vitamin C is very good. Also, the best way to get your vitamin C actually is probably in things like oranges and things like that, and fruit. Also, there's things like the green vegetables, for instance, there's and tomatoes, lutein in tomatoes, and kale. So these actually have a wonderful effect to help the retina of the eye. So it prevents cataracts, but also prevents macular degeneration, which I think can often happen as people grow older. Okay,
something more specific, trigeminal neuralgia.
Oh, that's a tough one now. Trigeminal neuralgia really is basically, some people get it and it goes away quite fast. Sometimes it can last many years. It's a desperate situation.
What is it, sorry?
It's a trigeminal nerve in the face.
Ah, okay.
And it affects the whole side of the face.
But this caller affects
and it affects the eyes, because those nerves run into the eyes too. So it affects the eyes. So one eye the lid might be closed down a bit more on one side of the face, Acupuncture, believe it or not, I found very good for this. I found, especially in the early stages, I found it to be quite good at this.
Okay. Long COVID. We've had a few questions in on that, and I'll just ask one specific question, but as I say, it casts a wide net, this, because lots of people contacting. My husband had COVID, is still very tired. Could you recommend anything as a pick-me-up? He's only 54, so...
Yeah, this is so common.
It's going to be debilitating for him.
Fatigue is a big problem with long COVID, and we're getting lots and lots of people with long COVID now, and it's going to be... We're kind of looking at this is going to be a tsunami of long COVID going into the future, because we've had things, Epstein-Barr syndrome, and which we call it chronic fatigue and things like this in the past. So with this, we feel this is going to be long term. Now, with fatigue, there's two factors with fatigue. Sometimes fatigue can be helped with things like, for instance, rhodiola is a wonderful herb. It's actually very good for helping.
I'm going to ask you to spell some of those for me.
RHODIOLA is rhodiola.
Okay.
So rhodiola is a herb. It comes from the Nordic countries, Scandinavia, Siberia, and things like that. And it's a wonderful herb for the nervous system, but also has the ability to actually help the body, give energy to the body. So it's a gentle herb. And often what happens with long COVID is that it can affect the brain too. So people can get depressed and things like that.
Brain fog and lack of concentration.
And it helps with that. It helps the whole body, strengthens the immune system. So
now, when you take something like rhodiola, people might go, right, that's in my mouth. Do I feel better now? How do sort of how does complementary medicine work? Is the impact, of course, with the likes of valerian, as you mentioned, the impact is immediate, right? Yeah. But with something like rhodiola, does it take a while for your body to absorb it, to build up the levels that are required for it to have a positive effect?
Yeah, we would always say take it for a month. 3 weeks to a month. Now, if you're not having the benefit in 3 weeks to a month, it's the wrong herb.
Yeah,
because people can persist, and I would always suggest that you try something for a month, see if it benefit, and then if it isn't, come back, and maybe it's something else. Because I'm giving a kind of one-shot thing for maybe, and sometimes if you go to a herbalist, like I'm a herbalist, we'd take an hour of consultation to figure out what to give the person. So in a shop floor or like this, it's kind of.
Yeah, of course. And I think the listeners understand that. Well, because what it really opens a door that maybe they can say, right, maybe alternative medicine or complementary medicine is a road I can go down, but it's going to be in consultation with someone like yourself, of course. Right, what was going to... yes, in terms of how you consume it, right, you talked about, obviously, vitamin C in apples, tomatoes and all that stuff. Valerian's a liquid?
Valerian comes in it's a root of a plant that grows, actually, along riverbanks in Ireland. But in actual, we make it into a tincture, or you can get it in tablet form. Usually, the tincture is the stronger form.
What's a tincture? Pardon my
tincture, is an alcohol-water mixture. So water and alcohol are the best solvents for anything. So when you mix the herb in those solvents, it withdraws everything out of it. So it's an easy way to take it. It doesn't taste the greatest. So a lot of people actually go for the tablets, but the tablets aren't as strong as the liquid.
Yeah, okay, but if it relieves the problem, you'd suffer the taste. Yeah. And then the likes of rhodiola, how is that delivered? Is that by tablet?
Again, that's by tablet.
Okay.
Our liquid, mostly you'll find, again, tablet of this. It's
All right. Is there anything I can take to stop or alleviate hot flushes?
Yeah, there is actually good combinations there, and it has to be combinations. Like you have things like sage, but sage is just one herb, and usually when you have menopause, it's actually a combination of things. Like women, in a way, get menopausal symptoms. Now, menopause is a natural occurrence. It should happen. And, the menopause symptoms should only last a short period of time, maybe a couple of months. Whereas often people come to, because they're having hot flushes, they're tired, many symptoms. Insomnia is another one of those. Then you need more than just one herb. So there's combinations of herbs that help the whole body deal with. Often it's an imbalance in the body that's caused it. So if the body is in balance, you go through the menopause, it's a natural occurrence. You wouldn't be doing this at the beginning of time. But because if the body is out of balance, it can't cope with the lower hormonal level, and the body doesn't adjust to it, and it causes all these symptoms. So what we do is we've usually combinations. Now there's a number of different combinations you can get, and you would basically try one for a month. Usually a month, 3 weeks, you see the benefit. If it isn't working in 3 months, then you try another one. And there's no one particular formula that goes to suit everybody, but
because everybody's deficiencies, if you could call that, are going to be different. So you have to find the right key to open the particular lock.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly,
I get you. In terms of vitamins, this caller takes vitamins, but they want to know, can I take them separately, and is that safe to do, or should I take multivitamins instead?
Often vitamins are better in a mixture. Yeah. Because that's the way they normally come. So when we should be getting our vitamins from our food, and sometimes it's absorption could be the problem. If the person isn't getting vitamins from the food, you know. And nowadays, like, it's wonderful. A lot of the supplements now are coming in food form, so they're actually, you know,
Do you are multivitamins useful? You know,
Oh,
sometimes I
they
try
have a
them and I look
place.
at the box and, you know, it says it's got vitamin, the whole bloody alphabet. And I'm
Yeah.
wondering, really?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, if you're deficient in something, like, it is actually, then it was very helpful.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes we can. Even with this modern diet, is like, we have too much food in that fact, but sometimes we can be deficient in one thing. It's like, for instance, like, you know, white flour, for instance, if you get the normal full grain of flour, there's B vitamins there to help the absorption. If you're not getting those B vitamins and you're eating lots of processed wheat, for instance, then you become lacking on the B vitamins. So
Common sense, really,
common
I
sense.
suppose.
So when you eat, like, people need vitamins if they're lacking something, and sometimes through particular periods of life, like usually youth, adolescence period, these particular changeable periods of times, people need these because they're lacking in the diet. Older people too, again. Vitamin D is very, now with the COVID, it's been huge, vitamin D, because in actual fact, when they measure vitamin D, the vast majority of people are deficient in vitamin D.
But you also have to make sure that you don't overdo it either at the same time.
Exactly, because
Yeah,
vitamin D is an actual fact. And it's wonderful now that the doctors will check for this.
We're talking about it now, yeah. I get you.
They're actually testing.
Is there a natural way or an alternative or complementary way to bring down cholesterol?
Oh, there is, yeah. Wonderful, like with cholesterol, there is vegetables, plant statins that actually, you know, they actually have a wonderful, you know, they advertise the margarine and all this, but you can get in tablet form too, which actually is a kind of safer.
You don't have to
bet.
spread it on bread with flour that's deficient.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, you know, the trouble is when it's in the food source, like it just depends how much you eat. You can't be sure. Whereas you get the tablet form. Well, we have, you know, there's plant statins there that really we've seen so many people actually getting their cholesterol down, so they don't have to go on statins. You know. So there's plant sterols.
It's one of those that nature has a really good answer to, is it cholesterol? Yeah, okay.
Absolutely, and it prevents going on. I mean, sometimes people need to go on the statins, but if they try plant sterols first, why not? You know?
Okay. Psoriasis.
Psoriasis, difficult one, a really difficult one. You know, psoriasis is one of these things, and skin problems are generally the tract ones are very hard to treat. I mean, there is things that you can try, like externally and internally, but you know, it is a very difficult thing. You know, it's more kind of easing the symptoms, like aloe vera and things on the surface.
It's not going to fix it, but it's the scratching or itchiness you're trying to get rid of.
It's really complicated, actually. You know, I mean, even the dermatologists themselves, it's a really difficult thing to treat.
Yeah, and they have to go at you for a long time to find the right thing that gives you some relief.
You know, so it's a matter of kind of easing it down a bit. You know.
Okay, I really want to add a tonic to my children's health to fight coughs and flus. What would you recommend?
Yeah, well, there's actually a wide range of them, and it's wonderful nowadays. Like, in actual fact, you have things that are there that are, you know, they're nice tasting. You know, Salus do a good one, I find. You know, Salus is a company from Switzerland, and they have a long tradition, over 100 years. And Biostat is another one, an excellent tonic that was, you know, it's actually, what they do is they put a lot of herbs in. And there's another one, there's a couple of them now in the market. What they do is they get the herbs and they give them to yeast, and the yeast eat it. And they make it, so then they kill the yeast off. So when you take the tonic, it's actually pre-absorbed already. Okay. So it goes straight in, and these seem to be very effective. One of the problems with probably where people are deficient is that they're not absorbing it.
Yeah.
They're actually, the digestive system not absorbing the actual.
When you take a vitamin or something and it changes the colour of your urine, what's happening there?
That's when, well, often see with vitamins, B complex vitamins, it changes. It's just the excess is going out. So there's two different types of vitamins, really. There's the oil-soluble one and the water-soluble ones. With the oil-soluble ones, like the vitamin D, you have to be careful because it stores it in the body. You see, you can overdo it. But with like vitamin C and B complex, these are water-soluble. They go straight through the body. You can't.
So your body takes what you need
and the rest of it is extracted.
Okay.
Exactly.
This is, I don't know, maybe. A listener had a cataract removed. The damage caused an ulcer, which has now left a permanent blur. Is there anything in your type of medicine that might help with that?
Yeah, well, there actually, one of the things is called lion's mane. It's actually a herb. It's a mushroom in actual fact. And this mushroom lion's mane is very popular at the moment because it's really, it increases nerve growth factor in the body. And nerve growth factor, as you can imagine, is connected with the nerves. But it's actually been used for ulcers on the corona. It actually seems to be quite effective. Now, I've never actually given this one for that, so I'm not just only from the literature. But we normally use lion's mane for people who are getting like a bit of like dementia, like anything to do with the nerves. Lion mane is very good.
It's stimulating. Okay.
Yeah.
Tinnitus. A lot of people suffer from tinnitus.
Very, very. And they're very difficult. There's no particular, like, you get a bang in the head and you get tinnitus or cataracts or something. And, that's a physical damage. But there's other types of tinnitus that come from stress, and that's very treatable. Again, going back to things like valerian and things like that can actually help that because, it's quite common that tinnitus comes on because of stress. So it depends on the types of tinnitus. If it's injury or like too much loud music or whatever, there's not much you can do really.
The likes of ligament injuries, is that?
Yeah, ligament injuries, again in time. One of the great herbs for this, and this was discovered really when they did research and they looked at all these farmers from China actually, where they looked at 3,000 years that have records of going back that 10 to time of herbals treating people. And they looked at, what were the biggest farmers that were treating like ligament damage, or was it frozen shoulder in particular that they were looking at. And they found that astragalus, a herb called astragalus, is actually using all the good farmers that were ever discovered, because these herbalists, over generations were using and then discovered particular things. And so I find that very good. So I've had many people that came in and you treat them for something else and they have a frozen shoulder or elbow or something like that, and you give them astragalus along with an anti-inflammatory, because you need that. Like turmeric was a great anti-inflammatory. You combine the two together, it really shortens the time, because what astragalus does is it helps the healing. It's amazing. They say it builds flesh. Very healing.
Glucofort, are you familiar with it in terms of stabilising blood sugars?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Do you believe it to be effective?
It is, yeah, it is, it does, yeah.
Anything you can take for menopause that is hormone-free. I am unable to take anything that contains hormones, as I had cancer that has hormone-positive, finding it impossible to sleep and sweats as well. Again,
you see, it's back to these farmers, like some of the farmers we have, it's a different way of treating it. So if you're treating it on a medical model, then if you're low in hormones, they'll give you a progesterone estrogen. Okay, that's the way. Herbal medicine has a different way. It helps the body cope with the deficiency because it's a normal. It isn't. If you get the body back into balance, then the lower hormones don't affect the body. So a lot of these farmers that I'm talking about, they have no hormonal effects. They affect the body, but there's no hormones in there. But it helps the body balance.
A lot of questions coming in as it relates to sinus issues, ongoing sore throats. Don't know why antibiotics aren't having an impact. One side of the throat always affected. Yeah. Do you want to speak individually about that one?
Yeah, well, this is very common. Like, what people get is they often, if they've got say they get a sinus infection, then they get a host of antibiotics often. And after a while, the material is gone. But what can be left sometimes is fungal infection. So a fungal infection, and that's antibiotics don't touch it. So these people get a chronic fungal infection and the sinus, which is really intractable. Nothing seems to be working for it. So there is formulas like for that. Again, that actually they clean out the sinus, but they're actually good. See, herbs are multifunctional. They'll attack viruses just as much as fungi. So they actually. Some herbal remedies are quite good for this, again.
I'm looking for a way to help sinus, which I get quite often, and a blocked nose. It's so annoying. Tried over-the-counter sprays, but they don't help much.
Yeah,
probably
again,
the same area.
Same area, you see. This is it. And, we've quite good things like that, actually. Like, you ever, when you go to a sushi bar, like, if you take...
I've never been to a sushi bar. Any other examples?
Well, no, if you go to a sushi bar, they give you two things. They give you horseradish and they give you ginger.
Okay.
And when you take that horseradish, it goes straight to your nose. You feel it in your nose.
Yeah.
If you take the ginger, it goes straight to your stomach.
Yeah.
So herbs have this ability to target certain areas.
Yeah.
So we use herbs like horseradish and things to target the sinus area, and they really just clean it out.
Yeah, it's interesting because some things within certain foods you'll feel that you might get feel like a burning sensation in your tongue or something. Right? Okay, that's interesting. Amazing. I have gum disease. Can you recommend anything that can help and generally improve gum health?
Yeah, well,
health to maybe reverse the problem.
Yeah, well, obviously besides like the obvious dentals, like washing your teeth and mouthwashes, things like that, another very good thing for that is coenzyme 10. Coenzyme 10 for really intractable gum disease is quite good. Coenzyme 10.
Anything to help reverse or assist post-COVID hair loss? A lot of people reporting thinning of hair, bald patches.
Well, the bald patches and alopecia, like that can happen. And again, that's because COVID, there's a lot of stress around COVID and it affects the body in so many ways. And stress can be so often these like hair loss like that, bald patches could be
an inch square bald patch for no reason. It appears to be for
that's
no
right.
reason.
So that's alopecia. That's a big type of alopecia that comes often from stress and COVID. So one herb that we find really good is called it's called He Shu Wu. But in actual fact, black-haired Mr. Hu it means in Chinese. And the story goes that this guy went out and there was a famine in his village and went out and ate this herb and he came back. He went out grey-haired, came back black-haired. That's how the story goes. But it's absolutely an amazing herb for the hair. A lot of the hairdressers now recommend it for hair loss.
How soon might you see some sort of
3 months generally. Yeah. For the hair, 3 months. The nails and the hair, 3 months. Well, everything that happens is 3 months after. So if you get that bald patch, it's what's happened 3 months before that caused that bald patch.
Yeah, I get you. Right, okay. So it's not how you're feeling necessarily in the moment.
Yeah.
The valerian, there's someone asking, is the valerian drops? The valerian are drops if you don't mind a little bit of a taste to it. Isn't that correct? Or you can get the tablets, but the valerian drops are more quick affecting. Where can you get this stuff, all this stuff?
Well, in the health food shops, and a lot of the chemists are doing this as well nowadays.
And if people want to speak to you, where are you based?
We're down the Natural Way in the shopping centre there.
Very good, okay.
And we have, we great staff.
Have you found an increase in traffic through COVID? Because, and I'm not getting into that conversation, but we started all of a sudden saying, you need to avoid one type of developed medicine because there are other cures that are out there. And I'm not saying people came looking to you for that or even that they exist, but have you found an increase in awareness of...
Yeah, there's increase awareness all the time. You find there's more, but the problem is there's a lot of disinformation too. There's a lot of stuff on that are, so I think it's better to go in and talk to people who are trained in the shops. And all people in the health food shops are well trained.
Yes, exactly. Okay, listen, it's been very interesting, David. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great to have you back in studio and back on the programme. Okay, that was David Foley there of The Natural Way in Letterkenny, isn't it? And that was Wellness Wednesday.